So thank you all for joining us this afternoon and making your way here after a very busy day. We really appreciate your time today. So welcome to this Catholic Learning Online event. And this is Goodbye Jamboard, Hello LucidSpark. So as we do, before we begin, I would like to acknowledge country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country on which we serve our learning communities. We acknowledge the elders, past, present, and emerging, and their ancestors who have a deep relationship with country. Whilst there has been great change to this land over the generations, we know in our hearts that the story and spirit of Aboriginal people will always be written in this landscape. We acknowledge any and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in this webinar today. Australia is holy land, and the great challenge to us all is to open our eyes to see the stories written, open our ears and hear the songs that have been sung, and feel the sacredness of the land on which we are standing today. May we walk alongside the custodians of this country as we seek voice, treaty, and truth. And I'd now like to invite you, if it is within your tradition, to make the sign of the cross. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, amen. God of all creation, as we journey together in this great southern land, we pray for healing, forgiveness, and unity, creating a path of goodwill with justice and compassion. Jesus, through the power of your love, you have given us the courage, wisdom, and strength to share our gifts and talents in humility. In peace and understanding, we reconcile with each other. Creator Spirit, we come together in prayer and thanksgiving for the many blessings we have received. Allow your Spirit to wash over us and give us strength to walk together as one. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, so if you've joined us before, you would know that Catholic Learning Online is represented by, I think it's 15 dioceses across Australia. And this infographic here will just pinpoint the person who's your contact in your area. So if you have any questions about professional learning or any questions, you can reach out to your contact person. Just our operating norms. We are recording the session so that those people who haven't been able to make it today can access it at a later point. Please have your microphone muted if you're not speaking. And if your bandwidth permits, and we know it's not always possible, please let us see your lovely faces. I know as a presenter, it's always nice to have some interaction. And please use the chat function to ask questions, or Vanessa, who I will introduce shortly, may tell you a different way to interact during the session. So I have the great pleasure of introducing Vanessa Cicero, who works for Lucid and is a customer success manager. And we've just got a little bit of information there about Vanessa, who's obviously worked as a classroom teacher, going through first, second, third, and fourth grades. And like many of us, I'm sure that's why we're here, has always had a passion and a love of technology and how to integrate it into teaching to excite and engage learners. And that passion and journey has led her to, lucky for us, to Lucid, and we're very excited for her to present for us today. So Vanessa, I will hand over to you. I'll just stop sharing.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Emma. And I'll go ahead and start sharing. And since we have a nice small group, feel free to come off mute at any point, ask any questions. And then we can also just ask, I'll pull up the chat and have that up as well. And I'll be monitoring that. So let me just get this pulled up and do the thumbs up. I've shared it right, or thumbs down. I haven't. Is everybody okay? Emma's thumbs up. Perfect. Thank you so much. And then let me just open up the chat so I have that just in case. So the first thing I would like, if you could in the chat, write a 1 to 5 if you've heard of Lucid for Education or LucidSpark or Lucid Chart. 1, you've never heard of it. 5, you use it all the time. Just so I can kind of get a base of how in depth I need to go into the background. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've got most people, it sounds like, know about Lucid for Education. So I'll go quickly through the intro and we'll focus mostly on LucidSpark today. As I'm sure you are aware, the reason for today's presentation is to start preparing for the next September, October, I'm not sure of the actual date, when Google will be sunsetting Jamboard. And so you already have access to LucidSpark. So LucidSpark is just like Jamboard, plus a bunch of awesome stuff as well. So we're going to go over how is Jamboard similar to LucidSpark, and then what are some other features that you get inside of LucidSpark as well. And since you guys are familiar with Lucid in general, this should make a pretty easy transition for you. But I'll highlight all the things that you should be comfortable with in Jamboard, and then you can let me know at any point, hey, I used to do this all the time in Jamboard. How do I do this in LucidSpark? The whole mission for today is to hopefully ease your transition from Jamboard using LucidSpark. We will, we're not going to focus on it today because it's not live, but in January, we will be launching the import feature. So you will be able to import all of your Jamboards that you've previously made into LucidSpark as editable documents. So you won't lose all of the hard work that you've put in your creating Jamboard templates before moving to LucidSpark. Okay, so I'm going to kind of zoom through the first couple. You'll notice that we are in LucidSpark. You'll know that there's a difference between LucidSpark and LucidChart. Looking at the upper left-hand corner, the red star shows that you are in LucidSpark, and LucidSpark is our digital whiteboarding tool, again, that mirrors what you would be familiar with inside of Jamboard. So our objectives for today, let me just unhide this. We're going to learn how to kickstart a quick, easy lesson to anchor class discussions with LucidSpark. We're going to go over the basics of LucidSpark that are the same in Jamboard and in LucidSpark. We're going to talk about how to facilitate small groups using breakout boards, where to find templates, because we all want to find templates. We're going to take a look at our new feature called visual activities. Anybody who's in lower grades, you're going to be pumped about it. Upper grades as well, but I come from a first grade perspective, and it really streamlines a drag and drop activity for students. And then we'll also talk about how you can find and create your own visual activities. So just keep in mind these objectives. We will do a visual activity at the end where you reflect on your objectives for today. So the first thing, just very quickly, since you're familiar, you've been into the Lucid dashboard before. Most of you are probably most familiar with LucidChart. Raise your hands. I see most people. Is that true? Okay, so you're newer to LucidSpark and you're pretty experienced with LucidChart. So LucidChart, when I go into Lucid, what should I be using? I use LucidChart for finding graphic organizers, pushing those out to my students so they each get their own copy, they're completing it and then turning it back to me. And then also if I want my students to start from scratch to make a concept map, process map, procedure maps, anytime you're using those more robust shapes, you want to use LucidChart. As you know, LucidChart is also collaborative. You can have multiple people in LucidChart, but I tend to use LucidSpark when I'm collaborating. So I use Chart for sending out templates to my students to complete independently, and I use Spark when I want to collaborate. So we're thinking collaboration, brainstorming, grounding class discussions, response prompts, and then again, like I said, using breakout boards to manage small group collaboration. So Spark, we're just thinking collaboration, and that's the one we're going to be focusing on today. And then finally, we're also going to highlight visual activities. Visual activities isn't a separate program within the Lucid suite. It is a tool on the toolbar of both LucidSpark and LucidChart. It looks like a rocket ship. We'll actually get in and play with a couple today. When you want to use visual activities, you're thinking drag and drop activities where students go into it by themselves, complete it independently, And then when they submit it, it actually aggregates and gives you data based on an average of how the class performed, as well as individual responses. So formative assessment, icebreakers, pulse checks, it's a way to kind of marry, we're collaborating. Now I want to get a pulse of what each student is independently thinking. So kind of marrying that collaboration with also getting formative assessment type checks for my students. So any main questions about what is in the suite and when I would use each of those? Okay, perfect. So we're going to go back, and since you're all familiar, you all know the dashboard, I'm going to kind of start from very scratch and open up a LucidSpark document. So from within your Lucid dashboard, you just click that plus new button. I'm sure you've seen it before. If you have the LucidSpark document, you can browse through templates, but right now I'm just going to go into a blank document and highlight some of the features that you would see inside of Jamboard in where to find them in LucidSpark. So here is my new blank LucidSpark board. And you'll notice, just like in Jamboard, all of the tools are down the left-hand side and highlighting some of those favorites. For the sticky notes, you can drag out the sticky notes, or you can click on the sticky note and it gives you a variety of colors that you can choose from as well. And you'll notice that we have a new feature that is new, a little different from Jamboard. Any person who drags out a sticky note, their name automatically goes to the bottom right-hand corner. So you can see which students are dragging what sticky notes onto the board, which really helps to figure out, okay, who really put what on the board. They don't have to sign their sticky note, which really makes that nice. All you have to do is just click inside your sticky note, and then you can just start writing, just like inside of Jamboard. And you'll notice for any of your sticky notes, you'll also get toolbars where you can change the color, size, font, all of those different things from your toolbar. Going down the list, you'll notice that we have right underneath the sticky notes, we have shapes. So we have even more shapes than you will find inside of Jamboard. I particularly love the speech bubble. You can change the size of your speech bubble. You can even click these and change like the width of the bottom, the direction of the bottom. So you have some more customizable features. This is a fancy shape. Not all of them do fancy things like this, but just like in the sticky note, you double click inside of it and you can immediately start writing. And you have your toolbar where you can change the color of your shape, the outline, all of those different formatting features for your shape. Within the shapes, additional features that you didn't have in LucidSpark, you'll notice at the bottom, we have containers that you can pull out and resize. I love using these for setting up collaborative sorts, where maybe we're talking about going back to my first grade history, short A, and I'm just going to copy and paste long A. And then what this does is I can highlight these. This is another thing when you'll notice that all shapes, containers, sticky notes, text boxes, images, you can lock them. And so now when the students get in, they're not accidentally moving, deleting, changing this. The lock keeps it there. So now the students can add their sticky notes without accidentally changing the containers in the background. And then underneath the shapes, you'll also notice we have tables that you can add onto the board. And then brand new, very exciting, we have a new intelligent mind mapping tool where you can actually just click in here and say, we'll just say hi. And then as you click these plus signs, it's automatically growing your concept map. So make it really easy to have your students build out any different concept maps. All right, so moving down the list after shapes, you'll notice that you can drag lines out, but even better than just dragging the lines out, if you have shapes on the board, you'll have a line shortcut in the upper right-hand corner, and you can drag out from the line shortcut and then it automatically opens up a shortcut menu. And so then again, this allows you to quickly connect shapes, ideas, and different concepts by using that line shortcut. We're going to skip frames and paths. We'll talk about that later. That's one of the more, advanced features that you didn't have in Jamboard. But the last two, we have the embedded image search. So let's say I want to do an activity with that short A, long A. I search for a cartoon cat, select images, and then you can just drag out that image, resize it onto your board. So you can do that with any of your image search. This is Bing's image safe search. So pretty much anything you'd find in Google, you should most likely be able to find within this image search, just also copyright acceptable, as well as a little bit safer, we hear, than the Google search. And then the draw tool is our final one that mirrors Jamboard. You'll see here that you can use the pen tool and you can write directly onto your board, and there's a highlight tool. So if you want to add a PDF to the board, you can actually use the highlight tool to highlight and annotate on top of a PDF, image, anything like that. And then up here, I mentioned adding PDFs to the board. You can either click on this import button, and you can import Google Docs that will embed. You can import PDFs that will embed, text files, images from your computer. So this also allows you to import, as well as, for example, here is an image that I'm dragging over from my desktop. You can drag things over from your desktop. This is me and my son, Weston, dinosaurs for Halloween. And I have a PDF over here. I'm just going to move to an empty space and drag from my desktop the PDF. And then the really cool thing when you're adding a PDF, you'll see this little extract thumbnail option. So I'll just click extract thumbnail. Sometimes this does take a little while to process, so I'll usually go work on something else and then come back. And then when you extract it, it allows you to pull out each page of that PDF and embeds it directly on the board. So just remember when you're embedding to click on this extract thumbnail so that you can get it added to your board. Okay, so let me see if we'll come back to it. So now we're going to jump in. First of all, any questions that I have about some of your favorite features and things that you did previously in Jamboard that I haven't shown yet? Okay, I'm assuming silence. I've just crushed it in Jamboard. We just have everything they have and no need to worry anymore. So now we're going to go over, I'm just going to quickly highlight some of these other features, but we're not going to spend too much time. And then I'm going to stop talking and we're going to do some collaborative activities so you can get in and actually experience it. So the first thing, just like power hitting some other things to think about. This is the breakout boards that I was mentioning. If you don't see any of the icons that I have, at the very bottom, there's 3 dots. This gives you even more options that you can pin or unpin to your toolbar. What breakout boards do is it's very similar to like Zoom breakout boards, except it is a whiteboard situation. So I'm sending them into a whiteboard together where they're collaborating with their groups. I love to do this for like article jigsaws, any type of thing, and we'll play with this. You'll see you can create as many of these breakout boards as you would like, and then students can join their assigned breakout board. So it allows you to manage multiple activities without having like 8 different links. I still send them the same share link. Up at the top, you'll see here we have a timer. I needed the timer a lot in education because time management was not my best feature. We have voting sessions. So if you have ideas that students are voting on, you can start a voting session. We're going to practice sorting in a second, so I'm not going to highlight that. And then right over here, you'll see we have an integration with these 2 cloud recording. I use Loom a lot. This allows you to actually record and then embed your videos directly inside the whiteboard. I love this when I'm trying to give instructions for an activity. I will quickly record, say, hey, this is specifically what I need you to do. I'll model it. And then when they try to come to my table during small groups, I look at them and I say, go watch my video, go away. And so it just allows you to have that additional control. And also if you're flipping your classroom and recording your lessons and different things for them to review, you can also use that as well. And then the last thing before we hop in, when you click on the 3 people and you come down to make me the facilitator, you get facilitator controls, which again, very excited about. So the first thing is before I send a share link out to anybody, I click on controls and then I lock the timer, voting, showing, like turning authors on and off, locking and hiding. I toggle them all on so only me can do those things and the students aren't messing with those things. So I do that before I share. And then while I'm presenting, which I'll model today, is take the lead. This will automatically bring everybody on the board to my quick view on the board. So it just kind of draws everybody's attention back to one place. So anytime I'm transitioning from activity to activity, I'll quickly take the lead. So that's just highlighting a couple of those advanced features. And now hopefully here, I'm going to come back to our presentation and I'm going to zoom out for you. You zoom just by pinching in and out on your trackpad, or in the bottom right-hand corner, you have your zooming in and out, as well as a little mini map, which depending, like if you have a huge brainstorm board, this allows you to quickly like jump from different sections on your board. And anytime you add a frame to the board, you will get an automatic table of contents. So the table of contents is in the bottom right-hand corner. It makes it really easy for the students to navigate between multiple activities. So now what we're doing today is I am throwing you guys in the deep end. We're going right towards multiple activities in one board using frames and paths. The first time you get your students in here, don't use frames and paths, just use one activity on the board to introduce it, and then you can gradually, build it out and add more and more. Just like when I introduced manipulatives to my students, we did it in small bite-sized pieces. So you guys are adults. I know you guys can stick around with me, but just putting it out there, I wouldn't expect your students to be ready to do this the first time. So I've set up a path. And just kind of like, so I don't overwhelm you, to create frames and paths, all you do is click on this little icon, hit create frame, and you can drag a frame around something. You'll notice as soon as I make a frame, it gets added to my table of contents. So right here it is at the bottom. I can rename my frame, and it automatically renames it in the table of contents. You can also click and drag to move your table of contents around if you would like. And so I actually really like the table of contents. If you want to get even fancier, like we're going to do today, you can create a path. And what you do for the path is when you hit create path, it shows all of your different frames you have on the board, and you can click them and you can pull them up. You can also reorder them as you'd like, and you can create as many of these as you'd like if you wanted to do differentiated learning paths for your students. Again, that's a more advanced one, so you probably won't be doing differentiated learning experiences right away. But coming back, I've created this path. So now when I click on this, it gives them a navigation pane at the bottom that you saw. That's how I was moving quickly from frame to frame. So what I'm going to do is, just like in Jamboard, you click the share button, and I'm going to turn on collaborative sharing. And then I'm going to open it up to guests. Although you guys have all logged in to Lucid, correct? Nobody was a 0. So I guess I will say any Lucid user, you can stay within your domain. And then I'm going to allow you edit access so you can collaborate with me today. Now, if I was just sharing like one of these activities, I can just copy this link and send it straight out to you. But since I have a path that I want you to follow, instead of copying this link, once I have it set up to be edit access, I'm going to copy my path link, and that's what I'm going to post into the chat. So I'm posting it into the chat. The big thing is when it pops up, make sure to click follow the path. So a little pop-up will come and you just follow the path. Okay, perfect. So you'll see this pop up and hit follow the path, and then just kind of give me, I'm at the welcome, I'm good to go. And those people just joining, feel free to hop off mute if you get it all lost or write any questions. And if in case that link wasn't there, here is the link again, so you see that. You'll notice as you're coming in, I can see your icons at the top. When you first log in, I usually do this for students the first time, and it stays consistent where it will be, it'll stay off once you turn it off, or it'll stay on. You'll see this show cursors. I usually recommend students turn that off, and then it'll just stay off moving forward. So they don't have to do it every single time. When you have a whole class in there, seeing cursors can be overwhelming. But as the teacher, I like seeing them so I can also kind of monitor where my students are at. And then along with that facilitator control, when I click on any of the names at the top, I start following you. So as the teacher, that helps me, like, I know Jimmy often gets, lost in my lesson. I'm just going to click on Jimmy's name once in a while to make sure he's where he needs to be. Okay, so now you should all have your navigation pane at the bottom of your screen. And if you don't worry. I'm going to go ahead and click through using your navigation pane, and we're going to start our first intro. You'll notice that it's hidden because I don't want you to work ahead. I want to do the grand reveal. I don't want my overachievers doing the entire presentation. Now, I just took the lead, which should zoom you quickly to my view of the board. And I'm going to unhide just by clicking on the frame. I'm going to unhide my activity, and I would like you to practice dragging out a sticky note, choose a color that you like, and answer the question, your name, what grade level you work with, and your favorite type of pet. Perfect. And head of office projects, remind me at the end to send you some additional resources that we're at the end. I'll make sure to highlight like our scheduling and team meetings and a lot of things specific to that area. Okay. Awesome. What is a ragdoll? Oh, it's a type of cat. Am I getting that right, Dawn? Nice. And you'll see, I can see everybody who's writing because your names, I turned on show author so I can see it as you're writing. And a turtle is a pet, Emma. It totally is. So you can see here, you can also resize any of your sticky notes using the white boxes. As the teacher, if I see some like accidental giant sticky notes, I'll just quickly resize it for the user as they're working, just to kind of use that behavior management. Oh, now, if you also agree, like this cute kitty, I just can't help myself, I'm going to click on the emoji and go ahead and give that a heart because that is adorable. So anytime you click on images, shapes, icons, you'll notice a little emoji, and then you can select an emoji. And when you hover over the emojis, it will show you who, put that emoji onto the board. Okay, so I know time is of the essence, and I always have bad time management. You heard me say that with the timer. So we're going to go ahead down to the next activity, and we're going to do kind of a class intro. Ooh, a cavapoo. I do love cavapoos. anything with a poodle, right? So now I'm going to be power hungry, take the lead whether you wanted to or not. And we are going to now this would be an example of an intro to a informational writing about pets. So we kind of had our intro. Now I would like you to drag some sticky notes onto the board and add as many things you can think of about pets on slide 5. And if you're not there, I'll quickly take the lead, just bring y'all here. Okay, and go ahead and start adding those sticky notes. Do. All right. Now, loud because of the storm, I feel my new dogs, unfortunately my other dogs passed, but I had 2 dogs that were terrified of storms, and now my new dogs, because my other dogs were years ago, they don't care about storms. It's like so 50-50 on how dogs work. Okay, so now what I would like you to do is we are going to, and as the teacher, you could do this, like you could say, all right, everybody, I want you to like 3/4 your lids, and let's just kind of like, I'm going to monitor this, or you could just let them go depending on the age level. So I'm just going to let you go. You're adults. I'd like you to start moving any of these ideas around to start noticing connections. So for example, dog and hamster, I am noticing our types of animals. So start moving things around based on commonalities in the sticky notes.
Vanessa, we're just trying to help Cheryl access.
Perfect.
So I've just logged off just so I can support her there.
And I'll open up to guests too and reshare that link, and that should help her just in case.
Does that mean Cheryl won't have to log on, or does she still would need to log on?
As a guest, you don't need to log in.
Oh, okay.
So let's see if that works. I just posted a new link, and hopefully that should get you in. And then afterwards, whoever your person is at your district, we can kind of work and figure out if it had something to do with your account. But
because I know, because it's Lucid is supported by the CENet members. I know for us, we don't log in using the email. We go straight to Google, and then that automatically works in Cairns, but I'm not sure how it works for all the other systems. But Cheryl, if you try that new link that Vanessa's posted, if not, let us know. And as Vanessa said, we'll contact your area and see how we can support that.
And then the second link, I took you straight to this frame. You can also get this, the little airplane takes you right to a specific frame. So that could also help you get to where we're at. Okay, so now you'll see we've started organizing. So now I've pre-populated a couple tags. If we see a group that is not of one of these 4 tags, you can create a new one just by writing it. But I would like you to click on any of the sticky notes and start quickly tagging them. So for example, a hamster is a type. Poop, definite drawback. So now go ahead and click on any of the sticky notes, click on the tag from the toolbar, and you'll see the 4 pre-populated tags. Need.
Stephen, just call out if you need any help.
Thanks.
In the chat, can you see in the chat Vanessa's put 2 links?
Okay.
Yeah, if you click the last link, it should bring you straight to the activity we're working on.
Great.
So now that we have tagged each of these by clicking on them and putting the tag, everyone else go ahead and this is mice down, trackpads hands off situation. So now as the teacher, what I'm going to do for the next step is I'm going to highlight all of the sticky notes, and you'll notice up at the top, now I have a sort icon. So I'm going to click the sort. There's a couple ways that you can sort, and I'm going to sort by tag. So now what this does is it automatically moves all the benefits into a category, the needs, the types. So now we have an organization started. And usually what I like to do is now I'll expand each of these and I'll say, okay, now I'll start the timer for 2 minutes and I want you to add more to these categories. So then now that we've identified some categories, now we can elaborate and add more details and ideas to each category. You'll also notice when you have a container, when I move the container, all of the sticky notes attached to it move with it. So then a lot of times we'll also reorganize and start developing that the order of our paragraph. And then I will pull out another container for our intro, and I'll pull out another container for our conclusion. Or as we can also have a class discussion, are we missing any ideas of where we could move forward? I mean, for a paragraph or what needs to be in our informational writing about pets. So then from here, you would take this, and it sounds like most people are familiar with LucidChart. And then we have a ton of writing graphic organizers in LucidChart. So at this point, I would say, okay, I'm going to quickly we'll pretend we did this and it's all done and beautiful. And when I highlight it and right click, I'm going to export this as a PDF, a PNG, some type of image, and I'm going to attach that and send it out through my learning management system with one of the LucidChart writing graphic organizers. And I'm going to say, refer to our collaborative activity and use that as you're mapping out in more detail with your writing graphic organizer. So any questions related to sticky notes, containers, tagging, any of those different things? Okay, perfect. So now we're going to go on to our debate continuum. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly take the lead, force everybody to my view on the board. I just feel so powerful when I do this. And now instead of doing sticky notes, usually I do sticky notes, but let's play. Pull out a shape onto the continuum, and this is how you can kickstart a class discussion. So should students be required to wear uniforms to school? So where are you on this continuum? And then I disagree because. So right, I agree because, or I disagree, or I'm neutral if you're somewhere in the middle. Start my timer. Give us all 1 minute because we're doing super speed since I'm terrible at time management. Then same thing, go ahead and play with this a little bit. Make it a fun color just for funsies. Change your font, change your background, just for fun since we're here today. Then go ahead through and you can read other people's responses and again, add emojis, or you can right click on top of another person's response and you'll see that there's a comment option. So you can add a comment to reflect. This is great for teacher feedback or just students commenting back and forth with each other. And all of the comments are stored in the version history as well. So you can always go back and see all of the comments and everything that everybody has put. So the comments, if you want to practice that, just do a right click, go to add comment, and then I can say at Emma, and then your district would come up. And then you could say, I totally agree. and then my personal connection with that. And then you hit comment, and then you'll notice that a little comment icon pops up at the top of that shape if you've made a comment. So this was an intro, one of the intros for class discussions. I absolutely love using LucidSpark and this was super easy to set up. I drug a text box out, I drug an image out, and a line and 2 other text boxes. The students are responding, they're talking back and forth with each other, and now they're prepared for a more in-depth verbal conversation. So this doesn't replace the verbal conversation, it just enhances it and prepares students, and also allows all of our students to participate in a way they feel comfortable. We all have had the student where no matter how much wait time and eyeballs just looking right at them, they're just never going to talk. It doesn't work. And so this way, they at least have responded in a digital space as well. Okay, now moving on, since I'm terrible at time, this is just a follow-up. We're not actually going to do this activity, but the next number 7, I'll go ahead and take the lead again. This one is just then a follow-up. I would start with the intro, we'd have a discussion, then I would have some independent time for students to click on and read an article, watch the embedded YouTube video. You can, just like Loom, you can play the videos directly inside of this. So the students can watch the video, and then after reading these, they're going to add sticky notes. Has their opinion changed? Has their opinion not changed? And then provide evidence from the article or the video that is, either changing or reinforcing their opinions. To get YouTube videos here, you just copy the URL link for a video, paste it on a canvas, and then it embeds. And you can resize it just like anything. And then of course, make sure to use that handy dandy lock so that they don't accidentally delete your YouTube video. Any questions related to, and same thing, I embedded this website URL. You just take the URL, copy it, and paste it. And then it'll automatically embed that as like a preview link for your students to click on. Now, this is more advanced, not going to talk about it too much, but Google Docs and other Lucid documents will actually do an inception embed, which is very cool. So if I copy a link from a Google Doc or a Lucid document or a Microsoft share link, if you have share links for Microsoft, you just copy the share link and you paste it on the board. You get an inception document, which is super cool. What this does is when you click on the inside, it actually just opens up it opens up the document within the document. So it helps you with reducing your how many tabs students might have open. And for this one, I did it with PDF, the PDF annotation. I embedded the PDF in another inception document. So just letting you know it's out there, but might not be something you'll dive into right away. I found it really helpful when collaborating with my teaching teams. So we'll embed a bunch of our collaborative documents for Google or Lucid in one workspace, and then we can easily just open those up from one central location. Okay. So the next one, we're not gonna do this one, but I'm just gonna kind of highlight. So you can just kind of watch my screen. In this next one, this was an activity that I was going to use breakout boards for symbiotic relationships in nature. So this is a template I just found, and you can write in here to add all of the students' names. So they would see what group they're in. They would click on their breakout boards to open them up. Then you'll notice if I join one, this is a jigsaw. So I have linked the article in here. So the students would read the article. I used a table just to put a really quick rubric. And then I added instructions here. You could also use the templates icon if you want them to, create something specific, or I like to leave it open and see what each group, how they choose to present the information on the rubric. So you can either do a template or leave it open. So I made one, and because they're all doing the same thing, just with different sections of the article, all I did was click the 3 dots and I duplicate it. And so I duplicate it 5 times, and then I can rename each of them to be group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5. And so now quickly I have 5 of the same activity that they're going to be doing each section. So now just to play, from the left-hand side, click on breakout boards, and I'll actually start breakout boards, which should pull it up on the right-hand side for you automatically. Just join one of the groups, and I'll show you what it looks like then from my screen as the teacher as you're joining a group. So now you'll see, I can see that Emma hopped into breakout 5. I can see that Dawn is in number 1, and Cheryl is in group 1. So I can easily keep a track of who is in what. And then as the teacher, instead of having 5 different links for each of my groups, I can just join this breakout board, add some sticky notes to provide some feedback, just be a creeper and look in here and see what my students are doing, making sure they're on task. And then in the upper left-hand corner, I can click back to main board and I can hop into another group. And then I can hit call back and it pulls you all out of your breakout boards. And now you're back to the main board. So that's kind of facilitating some small group instruction using those breakout boards. Okay, now we're going to go into visual activities. So first, before we do have some fun with visual activities, any questions about what you've seen so far? Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and unhide this, and I'm going to pull you guys to my section. And visual activities, you'll notice how they're a little different. When we were collaborating, you could see what everybody else was doing. Now, this is a visual activity. When you click start on the visual activity, you go into your own workspace. They're all drag and drop for right now. It's brand new, so we'll see where it goes from here. And you're going to drag out what is your most favorite candy to your least favorite candy. So go ahead and hit start and go ahead and start completing this activity. And then when you're done, hit the submit button. And then in the upper left-hand corner, you'll click back to document to go back to the main board. Okay, you'll see I can see the results piling in. You'll also notice that there is a share icon. You're accessing this through a big document with lots of stuff going on. For your lower grade teachers, they could create an activity, click the share button, and then what this does is I would post this link to an LMS of any kind. And when the students click on this, they don't go into the full board. They just come to this activity. So it helps to give them those interactive activities without having to go into a LucidSpark board specifically. So just thinking if you want to send them just to one activity, you just use the share button. Just make sure that your main permissions are open for edit access. They won't be able to do the activity if the main board isn't available for edit access. Okay, and then we can view the results. When you first click view results, you get an average. So this is an average. So unexpected results. I don't know what this one is. So I guess I need, what is it, a Toblerone? know what it's called. I need to try this. Apparently it's very yummy. So I see an average. On average, these are our favorites, and Hershey's and I need to have more chocolate. I don't know the names of these, are the least favorite. You'll also notice you're seeing scatter plots of everybody and where they're putting it. And you can click on just Dove and it'll show you the scatter plot just for Dove, who just put it for the Toblerone. And you can click down the left-hand side and I can see specifically what did Cheryl do, what did Claire do, and you can actually see specifics for each student. Okay, so that was an icebreaker one. Go ahead and use your navigation pane to go to the next one. Now, I really like this one. We'll see how many Harry Potter fans we have. So I'm going to quickly take the lead and go ahead and hit start to go into the whodunit. This one, it's great for literature practice. So you are matching a character with something that would relate to them. So go ahead and do the matching without watching me. I'm going to do it wrong just so that we have one person who does do it wrong, and then click submit.
Vanessa, I can't seem to access it. My screen, do I just go to the table of contents?
Yeah, so if you can't find it, go ahead to the table of contents and find the whodunit.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Perfect. My goodness, Dawn, you're quick. You must be a Harry Potter fan. All right, so now that we have 5, you keep going if you're still doing it, but this activity example is the quad sort. It has become my favorite. And the reason I like it so much is, again, the beginning is the average. So this is what the average thinks. And so this would be, or I'm not sure if I was on me though, so that's not great. But the overview will give you the average. So this is where you want your average to look mostly correct. That means the majority of your class got it correct. If you click on objects, this is what I really like, because you can actually see for Ron, these people put has a pet rat and are correct. These people put saved Ginny Weasley and are incorrect. So I know that these people are good to go, and I might pull a group for reteaching here. Then same thing for the next one. All of these people are correct. And overall, this spread is not looking great. So I might do a full reteach for my whole group on this, fact. So it gives me a real quick look at what people are putting so that I know in general, looking at this, I'm like, all right, we need to do a Harry Potter whole group reteach. Besides the fact that Ron has a pet rat. Everybody knows that Ron has a pet rat. So we got that one down. So I just like how it breaks this down very specifically for you when you're looking at these results. And you'll see in real time, the data as people are submitting, the data is changing.
Was that called a quad, did you say, Vanessa?
Yep, that one is the quad sort. And I'll go ahead and let me just see if there's, I'm not going to do the rules one because we're almost at time, but I'll just quickly unhide them and then I'll show you where to find them. Oh, so what we were going to do is we're going to drag out rules like we did with pets. And then I have pre-hidden here that ranking activity. So as a class, we're going to drag out our rules, maybe gain consent, maybe do a voting session to pick which ones do you think are the most important out of like the 30 rules we brainstormed. And then from that, I might choose 5 of them to drag into my visual activity. So we're actually, then I'd save the changes and we're actually getting, we collaborated and now we're gaining consensus on what we collaborated through this visual activity. So that was just kind of showing you how you could go from one to the other. You'll also notice if in here, if you have people in a whole board like this, make sure when you're done with your activity to hit the lock. Because right now you'll see there is still an edit activity. We don't want the kids to do that. So once you have saved your activity, hit the lock and it will lock it so that edit activity goes away. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom. Okay, so this has resources. So I will take the lead. This has 2 resources for visual activities. If anybody who wants resources puts their email in the chat, right after this PD, I will go through and send you Lucid chart from like beginning intro videos, visual activities, tons of resources for you to follow, as well as this presentation. So just pop that in the chat for whoever's interested. So we have visual activities templates that are made. This one, Emma, should look very familiar. Emma and I worked together on this visualizing student thinking in math. So that has visual activities specific for like 10 frames, partitioning numbers, different things like that. Okay. And then the last resource was right here that I'll send out. This is just for the Educator Hub, which has all of our main resources, our templates, videos, our community. But before I let you go, the visual activities on the left-hand side, like I mentioned, the rocket ship are your visual activities. And you'll notice they should look familiar. These are all just kind of the basic ones. The quad sort, like I said, is my favorite. So I'm going to drag out the quad sort. You'll notice here now, I can resize the categories. You can title the categories. You can erase the categories. You can add copy and paste to add more categories. So you can really customize this however you'd like. And then on the left-hand side, you can drag sticky notes in. You can drag out shapes and, you know, write stuff in them for the sorting. You can search the images and you can search those, and you can also drag those in. And then the moral of the story here is you'll notice that if they have a green hand, they will be draggable when I save the activity. If they have a gray hand, they won't be. So static, draggable, static, draggable. So it's as simple as that when you're thinking about, you know, how does that work? A lot of them are pre-programmed with this little gray box. And when you drag things into the gray box, it automatically turns to draggable. But even if you don't have the gray box, you can just turn the hands on and off. So whether you want it to be draggable or not. So once you're done, you just hit save and lock, and then you can either send it students just to this one activity, or you can send them into a big board like you guys went in today with lots of activities and lots of collaborating. Again, my recommendation though is the first time you get students in, start simple, one activity on the board at one time, and then just kind of grow from there, just like you do with any other thing you're doing. So I kind of like threw the kitchen sink at you today. So I will send you a bunch of follow-up resources for whoever added their email. But any questions, anything I didn't show?
Well, Vanessa, it's not surprising. Everybody's put their email in the chat. You know, sorry, did someone have a question? Vanessa, your presentations are always amazing and so packed full of things that we can literally try in our classrooms tomorrow.